It's also my Zach Taylor voice. Oh, let's target the guy who couldn't show up to a fucking meeting on 4th down twice in a divisional tilt. Oh. Or whoever's making that decision.
Did you like that 2-pointer?
I did not like the 2-pointer. And I know they're sure of it. It's like, oh, that's what you do, because we said it on Monday when the Bucs, who had zero chance of playing with Kansas City in overtime, decided to kick. And it's like the dumbest thing in the world. And it was. It doesn't make last night's game like you don't have to do the same thing last night. It's a different ball game, in my opinion. I know the Ravens went down and scored a bunch of times. I might be way off on this one, because at the end of the day, it's an opinion thing. Nobody knows what would have happened in the next 39 seconds. But in my opinion, with Tucker kicking the way he's kicking, you might be in overtime. I think if you win that coin toss, you win the game if you're the Bengals.
And I think if it's a tie game, the offense getting the ball relaxes and often takes a knee. I know it changes the calculus when you're getting it on the 30 and you're a throw or two away from field goal range, but they're not pushing like they are if they're down one.
Listen, and I totally get it. And we watched I watched 5 minutes of the Amazon post-game show, but like everybody was like, yeah, you kick. They also didn't seem to know for sure whether they thought those fouls at the end of the game mattered. To a man, to a woman, they were like, you go for 2. You don't kick. Sorry. So I'm looking at it. I'm saying, and their reasoning for the most part is what? It's like Lamar's going to get him in field goal range. He's going to. But if that's the case, you're going to lose on a kick.
I think what Fitzy said was right. There are lots of factors that need to be taken into account. And I think the most important is time. And if you're under a minute at 38 or 39 seconds,
I think you're in the zone where you could do either one.
Yeah, I think I lean toward going.
You lean toward going for 2.
What do you think about home and road? You think that matters? 'Cause that's what everybody says. You're on the road, you got to go for it.
I think a lot of times it matters, but and people talk about the 3rd and 4th quarter. Like, listen, Baltimore, you couldn't get them off the field. It was a lot like Cincinnati in the first half. But I think in the same breath, like I have notes from 30 minutes earlier in the game, like an hour of real time earlier. And the notes go, Lamar under siege. Lamar's checking out his hand on the sideline. Bengals up 14 in control of this game. The next note is Chase Brown fumbles.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is where everything changes. And look no further than that to see why momentum matters. Like, I'm sure Baltimore made some adjustments and they got more aggressive. But I also feel like the game just flips on its head when he fumbles that football. And my point is, if you can kick and you can create a pressure situation now for both teams, maybe Baltimore doesn't perform the same. And for God's sakes, if you just kick it deep and not into the end zone, and you actually had kickers that were willing to take chances in the NFL, maybe you could pin somebody at like the 20-yard line. If we have figured out how to fucking pin people in the NFL, like I'd be kicking and pinning every time,
Thought we'd be there by week 10.
Yeah, we're not there. We're not there. And like, listen, I think what everybody came for is to hear Nate take his victory lap on Cooked.
I just want to ask you, Chris, are the Bengals cooked?
I just want to ask you, are the Bengals cooked?
Not supposed to answer a question with a question, my friend.
I'll answer this question as I sip my LeBron times Hennessy.
Go ahead.
The Bengals covered, so we're fine. Okay? Like big time. They go down and they get that score, we're fine. All personal stuff is.
You know what I regret?
What?
A few weeks ago when you reached that white hand out to me and asked me to bet about the Bengals, and they've been on a skid.
What, is that what you regret?
Yeah, not taking.
What do you regret not taking the bet?
You were saying you were very confident in the.
So are you proud you didn't take a bet you should have? Is that what this is?
Yeah, maybe.
Look, the 7th seed at the moment is the 5-4 Denver Broncos. Since he's 4-6, they just played Baltimore.
Thank you.
In their place, better than Baltimore played.
Wow.
And when scoring at least 33 points this year, the NFL, every team except the Bengals are 38-1. The Bengals are 2-3.
No, there's no doubt about it. These guys deserve to be like
Must I remind you?
Yeah.
You want to know the Bengals?
Yeah.
You want to know their wins, their 4 wins? Do you know them?
Raiders.
The
Giants.
2-7 Panthers. The 2-7 Giants.
Yep.
The 2-7 Browns.
Yep.
And the 2-7 Ravens.
Wait,
is that a good team?
Are you counting your Super Bowl team as a negative win?
Is that a good team?
Can I ask you a question once more? Are you counting the team you picked to win the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
As a win you shouldn't be proud of? That's the Cleveland Browns, man. That's your Super Bowl Browns.
Their front office is to blame for this as the Bengals front office is to blame
I think
for
the
their
coach
season.
is if I could be serious and answer your question, like they deserve to be cooked. Like they're asking for the hibachi treatment. Like the way, and I'll get into why I think they botched that game last night. I mean, there's plenty of moments in that game where they could win the game, but this is the common thread. It's like Kansas City, you have them. You know, Baltimore, you have them twice. Like almost doesn't count, right? Our girl Brandy said it.
Yep.
And I live by that motto. So yeah, but here's the thing: 4-6. I do know another team that made the playoffs at 4-6. I was on one. So you got to understand that if I'm not willing to like just fillet them right here on the show,
no, I get it.
Like, but if you think they're cooked, by all means. Like, I think most people in the chat do think they're cooked.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah, what's up?
If you're a front office, what is your beef with paying Jamar Chase every dime he wants?
It's the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't know, Noel. What do you think?
I think just strapped for cash. They're one of those franchises where like, and I think this is something that's generally the most or the least understood thing about team building is like who your owner is matters as far as the guys are able to pay.
Right.
Some organizations are just way more cash liquid than others. So the Bengals are not one of those teams, and they're constantly fighting this battle, especially once they pay the QB.
They have that reputation.
Yeah.
It's just, bro, but when
I agree.
When you see a game like that, you feel. But if you're a GM, like you feel a little crazy. Like, dang, like we haven't paid this guy. And
no, you feel nuts. I think you feel nuts. I think you also feel nuts for wasting Joe Vember.
Mm-hmm.
Like they put that graphic up last night. I'm like, oh, we might turn this thing around. Like the Bengals might, the way he's playing, and the way he plays in November. Like that's why that game was so big. Like we're 5-5. They're 5-5. If you're the Bengals, you're thinking we are 5-5. We walk out of here with a win. We got a 14-point lead. For the second time, you have a lead, and I don't remember how big that lead got in the first game, but you're up 14 in this game. And it's a turnover. It's just like the last game. It's like you get all the way down the field, you turn the ball over, you're in control of the game. They turn the ball over, and I could complain all day about, hey, listen, I understand you go either way on going for 2. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say that's the story of the game because, truth be told, they blew 2 calls possibly on the same play. Yeah. Definitely 1. Maybe 3, depending on the way you look at it. Now, I'm not going to complain about the outcome of the game based on officiating just because I was on the Bengals. They covered anyways. But, like, honestly, to me, the worst thing was not kicking, taking a waste shot on 3rd and 2, then taking a waste shot on 4th and 2. That was bad to me. Like, that was bad to me. First off, you just run the ball on 3rd and 2. And if you don't get it and you're willing to go for it on 4th down, then you got 4th and a yard. Probably, depending on the call, okay? You don't get blown up in the backfield. You got 4th and short, okay? You take a waste shot on 3rd and 2, that to me does nothing. You take a waste shot on 4th and 2, that to me does nothing. You give the ball right back. It's like possessions don't matter in a game where it's just touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. You could make it a 4-point game. And you're telling me if the Bengals get the ball back down 3, and this is the rhythm of scoring that the game goes into now if you're up 4, if they score last with 49 seconds to go, or say the Bengals were in the Ravens' position, 39 seconds to go, down 3, I think Joe still gets that kickoff. I still think they get into field goal range the way they were picking them apart, especially with Kyle Hamilton down. Mm-hmm. Now, you could say, hey, Kyle Hamilton's not on the field. You might as well take advantage of the opportunity and go for 2, and I see that. But, like, Kyle Hamilton being down in general, if we're talking about the Ravens, is a big deal. And I don't know what the outcome of that injury is. Like, have we heard anything today?
Sprained ankle, not serious.
Okay, so X-ray was fine. All right, so that's a major bullet they dodged, but him not coming back into the game definitely meant that if you got the ball in overtime, in my opinion, you win that game. But taking those shots on third and fourth down seemed wasteful. Going to Burton twice on fourth down seemed wasteful. They have wasted this run. And the defense is the tackling. The tackling late in the game was terrible. I texted Nolan early in the game. I'm like, holy shit, they went into Baltimore at night and out-hit Baltimore for 3 quarters, almost.
Mhm.
They had out-hit Baltimore. They had out-tempoed Baltimore. They had them on their heels. All it takes is one fumble. Momentum's a motherfucker in the NFL. It's real. People that tell you it's not real, they never been on a field like that where something like that changes.
Mhm.
And you could see, I've never seen Lamar more frustrated in recent memory since maybe the AFC Championship game. And I don't know even in that game if he was as frustrated. I mean, it was like they end the half trying to get into field goal range, and Hilton comes down and knifes Deontay Johnson on the sideline, and they can't even get a kickoff.
That was a great tackle.
It was a great tackle.
Great.
But it's like the Ravens, they did all this shit wrong in the first half. And I don't know if it's adjustments that Monken made. I know they were more aggressive defensively, manned up a little bit more just from me sitting on the couch watching. But they got more aggressive offensively. And I feel like Lamar probably went into the half and was like, yo, let me win this fucking game.
Mm-hmm.
And he is truly, an MVP personified. Like, that's what being an MVP is all about. Like, him rolling right is kryptonite for this Bengals team.
Mm-hmm.
That same spot that he stiff-armed Sam Hubbard, he ran away from, I think it was B.J. Hill and like 4 people last night. I mean, the guy's amazing. But for people, remember a couple months ago, quarterback play was dead.
Mm-hmm.
We forgot how to score. 69 points on a Thursday.
Oof. So is it just that the Bengals that are a good matchup for the Ravens, or like we see 2 games in a row like with these guys playing, like do the Bengals have like the blueprint to kind of run it up on the Ravens?
No, I think they're a bad matchup for the Ravens for sure, but I
Yeah.
think there's more than one team that's going to be a bad matchup for the Ravens going forward because I haven't seen them put out the fire on defense.
Yeah.
Like
It's just about when you play them, it's just about matching points probably.
It is.
Yeah.
And to me, like, Lou did a nice job of keeping the points down in the first half, but everything has to go well. You can't give them short fields.
Yeah.
The minute you give them short fields and they get going, like, the best thing about the first half is they never got started.
Yeah. First quarter, they had the ball for under 2 minutes?
I think the plays were 23-3 at one point.
Yeah. Joe Burrow, they were on their first drive was over 5 minutes, and then
Yep.
the next drive was almost
Yeah.
8.
No
8,
question.
something like that.
And so if you can keep these guys off the field, keep them from getting in a rhythm, that sort of thing, like, that's great. But I do want to point this out. Like, I was going to let you – I'm giving you the grill. So if you want to, like, you can start a fire in here. I don't care. Maybe we'll see a fire truck this morning. All right?
You know the craziest thing? I was watching the game, and when they went up 14, and I was sitting there, and I was like, as much as, like, I want to be right,
Yeah.
I'm like, the Bengals, they aren't a bad team.
Bro, that's all I'm saying.
And then that fumble happened, and then that fumble happened, and you're just like, when you're a bad team, like, I feel like bad stuff happens, and like
Yes.
you do stuff like, not like you said at the end of the game, like you try to go for it because you're like, oh, I'm desperate, like we're gonna win, we're gonna get it in there, and then you don't, and then it's just like, damn, just like you said, like you give yourself a chance. And
I just thought Taylor was the problem to me is they came into the game aggressive, obviously, but not knowing when to turn the aggression off in some spots, to me, was the problem. Like, you got these guys dead to rights. You looked like for a while the Bengals from a couple years ago. Higgins is out. He did this without the left tackle. They got number 61 in there, who's like a revolving door, and you've got
Burrow's tough as hell because he was taking
shots.
And let me ask you this:
he was pressured.
Go ahead.
Pressured on 47% of his dropbacks.
Damn.
Is
some of the throws he made was like,
is Burrow not elite enough? Because
is that the question?
Some of these calls that like they're not giving.
Oh
him.
yeah, they're not giving him the Jordan rules. No,
like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we think about like
the Jordan calls.
Like Josh Allen, if he gets hit in the face, they're calling that. Like,
I don't know about Josh Allen being that, but I agree with you though.
But a lot of
Mahomes
other
gets hit in the face.
I think a lot of other quarterbacks, they're calling that
twice.
And for them to be so adamant about calling in from New York and getting calls right,
Yeah.
I just hate like when it's a primetime game and it's just like, dude, like if this happens again, like during the year to Mahomes, to anyone else, everyone's gonna be like, yo, if I was a Bengals fan, I would be like, yo, what about that call like you guys blatantly missed where he gets slapped in his face?
Yeah.
Another like, and it's not like something that's like, oh, I can see how they missed that. It's like, nah, you guys are being adamant about calling New York, getting calls right, like on the spot without coaches having to challenge or whatever it may be, and then we watch a game
I do think
that
there's
ends
the
like this.
slippery slope thing too, though, that if you make like every face mask reviewable, you make every, strike to the head review.
But it's not reviewable. It's just getting it right.
No,
right?
I know, but I'm saying like if you can start, if New York can start calling down and
Yeah.
replay assisting, like then what are the officials for? I mean, I understand they're out there to spot the ball, to make sure things are operating correctly, to call, fouls that they see, but like then we just don't need them calling anything in real time, and people in New York should call the game, because you and I both know that in a lot of situations, short of like seeing a foot go down because you have the angle or knowing the minutia of the rules or whatever, like we on the couch know better than the refs in a lot of situations of what really happened.
Yeah, because we
Like-
can see it. We have the views, we have the angles.
We
like-
see holds that don't
Yeah.
that I thought that the Bengals got away with a hold on Hendrickson, or the Ravens got away with a hold on Hendrickson on their last drive of regulation, I believe it was. Early in the drive. I think it was 2nd and 10 or something like that. But I don't expect the refs to see every call. I'm sitting at home, I can see it. But we do have a lot of these situations popping up, and I think the problem is, and we've talked about this before, I think you and I making on this show, but like I think the technology is outpacing the human beings on the field. The vantage points are outpacing human beings on the field. Like I can remember like growing up, when did that guy from the Browns fumble? Remember that? On the goal line?
You're thinking of
Ernest
Don
Biner?
Beebe.
No, Biner.
Biner. I think
Yeah.
it was 87 or 88.
So I don't remember that directly, but I had to imagine that like sitting there and watching that replay, or like watching any big replay at the end of a game, I can remember years ago when it felt more subjective to argue a call, even watching on TV.
What's a
Right.
catch? And the Shield, I think, likes that the human beings are still out there and getting outpaced by the technology and getting some things wrong.
I think that's
there's a
part
sweet
of the
spot.
drama.
There's a sweet
It's
spot.
good content.
Very
It
good
is.
content.
It's good content.
Content.
In what
Yeah.
other sport? I
It
just
is.
say this, like in what other sport do you get to like stop and argue online for as long as you do? I guess you do in basketball sometimes
Yeah.
about the call,
Mhm.
but it feels like the gravity of the calls in the NFL
Yeah.
on the regular, like
They swing games. There's
and
just
bet-
fewer possessions.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of talking around those things.
yeah.
And I think the human element of it is fun sometimes, but then it's not so fun when you're like the Bengals and
When
you're
you're
like,
on the
we
other
should have
side.
another opportunity to
Yeah.
go for 2. Or if you're the Vikings a couple weeks ago and you say, hey, I know it's not likely we go 80 yards,
Yeah, no, that's
but like
true.
give us a chance, I totally get it. If you're a
definitely-
Bengals fan, you feel robbed. But if you're a Bengals fan and you feel robbed, you should also feel robbed by your organization and your coach, because they are wasting this play from Joe Burrow. Like if they have the same record as the Ravens, I don't know if I'm saying Lamar's the MVP. I might be saying Joe's the MVP, which again makes the MVP award the most cloudy ass defined award of all time,
Mhm.
where it's like, what does that really mean? Well, Lamar's on the best team and playing the best. Joe Burrow could be in that conversation if the Bengals would just figure out how to win some of these fucking games. He's not, if he does nothing different for the most, short of that one pick in the Baltimore game, I feel like for the most part he's been damn near perfect this year.
All
And they're
losses,
wasting it.
All losses by 1 score except for the Philly game. Y'all remember the BCS where we picked national championship participants not based on merit, but based on a bunch of votes. We should bring that back for the 7th seed in both conferences.
That's a really good idea.
I'd rather see Cincy going into 2-loss Buffalo or 2-loss
Than Denver,
Pittsburgh
no offense.
than Denver. No offense.
And that
to
may be
Denver.
the way it
None
works out. Because
taken.
like pull up the wild card standings, and this was what I was going to say was like, listen, I thought they might get to 5-5. They're not at 5-5, and you can cook them. I personally, I'm out.
Chargers and Steelers up next for them.
I am out on this argument. I'll come back to it in December if they make the playoffs and be like, yeah.
Before the season, it was over under 11.
10
Yeah,
and a
10 and a
half or
half.
something.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Still in play. Still in play.
It's crazy.
Wait, it's still in play.
11 and 6.
They have to run the tables.
Have to run the
Yeah,
table.
they have to run the table.
Ooh.
But here's the deal. I was on a 4-6 team.
I will
you know,
buy, if they run the table, I will buy a Joe Burrow and a Jamar Chase jersey.
and everybody would be like,
Heard
"Oh,
it here first.
like that's not a punishment." You're supposed to say, "I'll eat dog shit."
Hell no.
Well, will you take my bet now?
What's that?
2-1, they don't make the playoffs. You take whatever the Vegas bet is. I'll give you slightly better odds. So the point I was going to make was I was on.
No, because as soon as I take
I
that
can't make
bet,
it.
as soon as I take that bet, they make the playoffs.
They're not gonna.
That's how it happened.
The point I was going to make, and guys, maybe I kind of feel like this is a relevant point. There's somebody in this room that was 4-6 and went to the playoffs.
Was it you?
It was me.
Okay.
So all I'm saying is you can't blame me for thinking, hey, a team that good with we didn't have Joe Burrow. We had Big Dick Nick Foles.
Did you have 16 games or 17?
We had less games.
Even more.
Exactly.
Even more of a reason.
You know, so all I'm saying is all I'm saying, Nate. That's all I'm saying.
I feel you.
With their game next week, is that like do or die?
Oh, it's all do or die.
It's all
Here.
do or die.
It's all do or die. They can't. Okay, so Denver's at 5-4.
But they have the Chiefs.
Denver's got one of the toughest schedules remaining.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Bengals are better than the Colts. I think they're probably better than the
And
Jets.
And
the Colts
had the Bills.
Yep.
Colts have, so you're not out of it in the AFC right now.
5-5
which
would
is
have been
crazy.
cool though.
5-5 would have been crazy. 5-5 would have been scary.
Mhm.
5-5, you start talking about, oh, we can win the North.
Yep.
Like we can go on a run and win the North.
Makes that Patriots loss in week 1 that hurt that much more.
Yeah, but they don't win week 1.
I think you come out of this game though and say, Pittsburgh's pretty fucking good. Because would you rather be Baltimore or Pittsburgh right now? Be honest.
Baltimore.
You'd rather be Baltimore.
Baltimore.
Their defense is terrible. The
But-
guy under center is superhuman, dude.
Right.
There's nobody like him in the entire fucking league. I'm obsessed with watching him play. The offense is a lot of fun. I'm sure Deontay Johnson's going to help them a lot down the stretch. But I don't know if it's that easy an answer when the other side of the ball looks like that.
But if it's the Steelers, I feel like as a Steelers fan, every time the quarterback on their team gets the ball, it's like something terrible could happen.
Well, I think their biggest problem, we'll talk about it in a minute, is like scoring in the red zone.
Yeah.
I don't think Russell Wilson's a turnover machine right now. That's not what I think about. What I think about is like they actually have to play pretty good defense against some of these teams they play against. So that half of the ball has to hold up their end of the bargain. But Pittsburgh's defense, it's on a different planet. From Baltimore, I think misses Patrick Queen more than we thought.
Mhm.
I think they miss Patrick Queen. I think they miss, certain guys that they let walk in ways that we probably don't even realize. But I think they miss Clowney. Even though they pressured at a high rate last night, like over the course of a season, it would have really helped to have him.
Mhm.
And we can't ignore that the last guy was a good enough defensive coordinator to go get a head coaching job.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of how you feel about what's going on in Seattle.
Took a lot of coaches with them.
And he took a lot of coaches with him. That shit matters. Your Browns lost some important coaches this offseason.
Yep.
Callahan was one of them. I'm talking about old man Callahan going to join his son in Cincinnati. So, like,
50 million brake pads.
coaches, yeah, exactly. Nice pull.
Yeah.
So, a Black Sheep's better.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nate goes, yeah. That's good. I want to make sure I didn't forget anything from last night. What the fuck was Kirk Herbstreit talking about when he said to let the Ravens score?
Herbie's down bad at the moment, man.
Yeah.
Just got to give him a pass on that one.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
He's doing a lot right
Yeah.
now. I think like I can imagine he's very busy.
Mm-hmm.
But
And his dog died.
that too.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I didn't even think about that the first.
Yeah.
I'm kind of off Twitter,
Yeah.
so I didn't see that. So
Okay.
dog died, huh?
Yeah. Had to
Rest in peace.
put down the
Are
dog.
you fucking kidding me?
Like yesterday. Yeah.
Shit.
And now you're giving him hell.
Well, no, I mean, but listen, things happen. That doesn't mean you let people score
that's fair.
with
That's
2 minutes to go in the game.
Yep.
It's 2nd and 10.
Yeah.
So I just didn't agree with that.
Okay.
I also didn't know what the hit piece on Matabike was.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear that like 5 times? Every time he made like an incredible play, they were like, and this is the guy that's just sucked ass lately. I was like, what, dude? That guy's a dog. Now he went to bed. He woke up yesterday with 2 sacks. He went to bed with 5 sacks.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how quickly it changes in the NFL. We look at guys and we're like, oh, you don't have the numbers, the whole thing. With 3-piece changes everything. They come in bunches. He's a D tackle. He's got 5 sacks. He might be up near double digits again. So,
How about this stat for you before we move on?
hit me, bro.
The Ravens, they were on a 42-game streak of having 100+ rushing yards, and it came to an end last night. They had 99 because Lamar Jackson had to take a knee.
Damn, dude. Did you see what happened with Tua's passing total this weekend?
Oh my God! We
As-
had said that
as soon as
that happened.
As soon as it happened, I go, "Oh my God, somebody got fucked on a prop,"
Hell yeah,
and people got absolutely killed on that.
killed. Or you got to think about it. If you probably bet on Tua, you're a Tua hater. Like if you bet the under, you thought you lost, and then you won. Why doesn't everyone think about that?
I didn't hear anything you said after you just cast an aspersion. You're just an aspersion.
I said if you had the under, you're happy. You thought you lost a bet, and then that happened, and then right, if you had Tua's under,
Most of those props.
yeah, if you had Tua's under,
it's the same way.
I hadn't thought of it that way.
You already thought you lost, and then last play,
Yeah,
you're just like, yo, I won.
yeah, no, I could see that. I would definitely be on the under. To your point,
The Ravens were one game shy of the NFL record. With that,
wow.
with that,
But they did a pretty good job on Henry, but they also didn't use Henry a lot early, which also makes me wonder. Like, this isn't me just making shit up. Like, Henry could be dinged. Like, they know it.
I
Like,
think it's Thursday.
no, I know it's a short week. He
Yeah.
could be like, sometimes you're dinged without being injured. When it's just like,
Yeah,
we're not going to give you the ball 25 times tonight.
those 2 extra days matter.
And the days matter. And I did see him kind of jogging around, looking a little heavy footed last night. Like after that touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wonder if they end up in situations where he's a little dinged, or he's tired and you can't give him the ball 25 times a game. Like, can they get out of the gates the same way? They got to work on how they start games if they're not going to be featuring him heavily. Keaton Mitchell's back. That day I damn near spit my drink out betting the Bengals, and then I saw Keaton Mitchell in the locker room in a uniform, and I was like, oh fuck. So yeah, a couple more things? Uniforms.
Oh,
Ravens spectacular.
awful. Just
Ravens lid is
disgusting.
disgusting.
Oh no!
Wait.
Yeah,
You
no.
guys are trolling, right?
You guys don't have taste.
No.
it's
The
okay.
gold
you guys
face
are-
mask?
no.
okay.
The
Nolan
Helmet
probably
is
liked
really
the
bad.
purple lid.
No,
too.
Alternate
You guys
logo is
are
awful.
quiet.
No.
You guys are really
It's
quiet.
awful.
What? Hold on. What Nolan?
Oh, it's a race
Chris
thing.
is
I think
right
so.
with the lid. I
Yes.
typically love the matte colored looks, but that's a situation where the matte is a bad choice.
No.
What?
No, it doesn't.
beautiful.
What is
it
going
didn't-
on
it didn't
right
match,
now?
bro?
What is going on? I told you, I already like the non-matching.
Dude, I'm not surprised you guys like that shitty lid. Why are you
the not
surprised we don't
matching
like it?
helmet? Because we never see I like the gold face mask. Everyone having like a colored face mask, like matching like the outlining of the numbers in your jersey.
Yeah.
I think that was fire.
I like
okay,
that gold.
so I
So
think there's-
dope.
I think a couple things. Number one, the lid. I've spoken on it.
Bad movie. It's a bad movie
Yeah.
uniform.
They're like an any given Sunday team. That's like the
You guys are
Falcon.
crazy.
I'm not as bad on the uni
Agreed.
as you. It's the lid. It's the lid and
What would
tying it
change?
together.
What would you change?
What would I change?
Yeah.
I'd say just wear the black helmet
Probably-
would look good too. Like
I don't know what helmet you wear there.
Well, get rid of the alternate logo. You can even drop the dopey horn.
You mean that futuristic bee that that what they would have thought a bee would have looked like in 2010 if they made it in the 80s? Like
Correct,
that's what that
terrible. But also this different cacao is
that thing's not
so
great
good.
either.
Yeah, go back. Just use your regular logo.
I do want to say this: the Ravens are not as scary in purple. That is a real thing, dude. If you go play them at the bank and they're wearing black and they're turning the lights on and off, like there's a certain aura. I think sometimes you watch the Ravens, this defense now, and you're like, I don't know, they're playing a pretty good defense. It's because they're wearing black. And then they wear purple, and I'm like, these guys aren't very good. These guys aren't that good on defense.
The chat is surprised that Nate likes the Ravens uniform.
You are?
but clowned that the Eagles Kelly Green last week.
Oh God, say no more.
Well, he's
That's
just
right.
going to take the opposites. He's DA, devil's advocate, DA.
Because I
Yeah,
don't
well,
like.
Nate,
I
Nate
don't
walked
like
that
certain-
back. He was wearing Kelly Green.
Because
I didn't walk anything back. Just because I wore a shirt doesn't mean I like the
You
Kelly
definitely-
Green jerseys.
you
Just
gave-
like you don't like the different color helmets. If the helmets doesn't match the jersey perfectly,
You trying to steal
I
my
don't
voice?
like it.
You
I
trying to
don't
steal my
like
voice?
it.
Here's how it goes. Oh, I quietly dislike the Matt helmet as well, but the other people on the show take the other side. So I just the whites, the Bengals whites, that's their best look. The black pants, the white top, that's their best look in my opinion.
Orange, white, black. Yep.
And I just don't like the Matt helmet. That's all. They don't look as scary. All right, we've beaten that game to death, and it should be beat to death.
Last thing, just real fast. Someone in the chat said, "What about Belichick on the Bengals next year? Do you like?"
Ooh,
Nah.
I kind of fits the. It kind of fit like cheap ownership, where they're like they don't want to spend money. Bill doesn't want to spend money. Nobody wants to spend any money. They're going to be practicing in a cardboard box. But they got Joe Burrow, and he could fix the defense, you know?
Historic
Exactly.
franchise.
Mm.
Oh, man, that's pretty good.